You're listening
to the Bumbling Yeti podcast.
Hey everyone, this is John at the Bumbling Yeti. This is episode number 30. Today I have with me Ryan Reisbeck. He is a former number one long driver in the world. If you've ever watched any kind of long drive golf on ESPN, you'll definitely recognize his face. So Ryan is with the Professional Long Drivers Association, correct? That's what the PLDA stands for?
Yep, that's right. PLDA.
Okay. So just a little background. The reason, Ryan, I wanted to have you on here is I reached out to you because I see that you guys are trying to, or you're actually going to be taking long drive back to the Mecca, back to the Mesquite sports park out in Nevada, which is where they almost built that specifically for this sport, even though they have a lot of soccer fields out there, right? So I want to welcome you to the show. I appreciate you taking your time to kind of talk me through what it is you guys are trying to do to help, I guess, for those of you who don't understand, the sport kind of hit a pinnacle and then kind of dropped off as far as, I guess, TV goes and that kind of stuff. And I've been following the sport for a long time. I used to compete. You'll see back here, that was one of my brands. That was my brand, and now it's with Shark Attack Golf. But I'm just curious to see and understand what you guys are doing. I know you and Bobby Peterson are doing really big things for the sport. So with that being said, I'd like to hear more about it.
Yeah. So to your point, we are taking it back to Mesquite because we feel like the World Championship belongs in Mesquite. And you're right, that facility, the Mesquite Sports and Events Complex, that was built somehow. Art Sellinger, who was the founder of the Long Drivers of America group or association, I mean, he was somehow able to convince the city of Mesquite to put like $15 million into that facility and designed it so that you could use it as a long drive facility. So the practice range is right next to the competition fairway, grid, range, whatever you want to call it. And it's just awesome. The view is spectacular. There's a mesa in the background, so you see like the red rock. It's got an artificial tee box that's slightly raised. So it looks really nice, and it's in the desert, and so you can start early and end late as far as the season goes. So that's what we really feel like that's where it belongs, and that's why we're taking it back there. So and then you also mentioned, the long drive kind of hit its peak and then struggled, and I would almost argue that it hit its peak in a different way, maybe back in like 2008, 9, 10, before the recession. And then struggled for a few years, and then Golf Channel acquired it from Art Sellinger, and I think that they did some pretty great things. Now, obviously, it moved from being on ESPN to the Golf Channel, but I think that Golf Channel really made some headway in bringing the sport back in front of golfers, in front of players, and kind of regenerated the audience a little bit. And unfortunately, this last year was pretty rough with COVID. And what happened with them is a lot of their funding was based on sponsorship.
Right.
And as the writing on the wall became apparent with COVID, a lot of these companies that were sponsoring and supporting Long Drive, had to face the difficult question of what do they do with the sponsor dollar. And they told Golf Channel that there's too much uncertainty. They need to keep their cash in reserve. And so that's what they did. So with that, Golf Channel essentially had to scrap that sport, which is really sad looking back at it now, because I mean, long drive is actually one of the only sports where you can truly social distance, right? If you get within 6 feet of me when I'm playing, you're going to get hit probably and hurt.
Right.
So it's kind of unique in that I think that if they would have if they had the funding and said, hey, let's move forward with this, it would have been the only live sporting events on TV for a few months.
Right.
I think it actually could have worked, but I mean,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah. I think
hindsight's
entertainment,
2020.
yeah, I think sports and entertainment in general took a big hit. And, with, bringing people from all over the place, it might've been a problem, but, I look at this, I did a podcast, I think, where it was just me just talking about how I believe that this is like a big reset point for a lot of us. And I think it's a great reset point for long drive. So there's been a lot of rules changes from when I competed at, um, I never made it to worlds. I made it, but I left the regional too early and they gave it to someone else. So that was as close as I ever got.
Oh, that's too
But,
bad.
yeah, but it's fine. But yeah, I think, the grassroots aspect of it, right? So the way that Art brought it up, I think you guys can actually take the lessons that, have been learned along the way. And I mean, you're working with Bobby on this, right? So Bobby Peterson.
Yeah, there's actually a few of us. So you may remember Landon Gentry.
Yep.
So there's Bobby Peterson, myself, Landon Gentry,
Hmm.
and Josh Cassidy, who's a newer competitor. I think he's been around for 4 or 5 years now. And then Seamus Mannion, who is not affiliated with Long Drive at all. He's a part of it. And then Robbie Peterson, who is Bobby's son, is
Okay.
also a part of it. So that's the core 6 people that are working on it. And we're trying to work on this with a shoestring budget
Sure.
right now. So until we start really
Yeah.
generating some revenue,
Right.
we're kind of doing it all in-house.
Well, that's kind of always been the challenge, right? So, I don't know how long have you been competing since what year? I guess what year did you start?
So my first time ever trying to qualify was in August of 2010.
Okay.
And so this 2010, I guess technically would have been my 11th season. And now this 2021 will be my 12th season. So I've been around for a while. I'm 42. I'll be 43 in August.
Right.
And so I think there's, Kevin Shook. You may remember
Yep.
Kevin
Mhm.
Shook. I think he is like a month older than I am. And then
Okay.
he and I are probably the oldest in the senior or the open division, which 45 is the age cutoff for the senior division.
So
I think we're the 2 oldest.
were you at the you were at the first East Coast Classic, right?
I don't know if it was the first, but I've been to a lot of the East Coast Classics.
Okay,
Yeah.
because I was at the first one that Moby had put together. I actually have a flag somewhere. I just moved, so can't find it all, but I have I spotted for Tim Burke, and that was the first time I ever saw a human hit the ball that far. I mean, it was astounding.
Yeah.
And Kevin Shook, I mean, he's got to be what, like 165 pounds.
No, Kevin is bigger than no, he's probably 6. I think he's probably 6'3" or 4. He's got to
Right.
weigh 220 or something.
Oh, well, I mean, he looks wiry, but I remember being there, and he smashes the ball. I mean, that's the difference, I think, in the sport of long drive, right? So you hear that a lot internally, but you don't hear that a lot outside of the sport. It's like you see you guys on the tee box, and you're trying to, like put a real hurting on your competitor. But at the end of the day, you guys all help each other. And I think that's something that people don't understand. You're going to have an outlier here and there. But it really is a brotherhood. And, you mentioned, so I'm 41, I'll be 42 this year, but I used to compete back. I started competing in 98. So I competed from 98 to like 2002. And so that was in the days of like Ben Witter, and there was very few restrictions back then, right? So I remember I had a 55-inch shaft. I think that was when Bang just came out. Like all the companies started to come out specifically for long drive. But I remember guys like the best you could do, like top of the line, was Ping, when Ping had their team, or like a Zeter Golf, which is what Zubak was hitting. But I remember they would take a golf grip, turn it upside down, and put a tee in the top and hit it like it.
Yeah. That it's interesting you bring this up, because there are some funky rules that are not there anymore, and they slowly transitioned out of that. So it was less of a novelty, and they tried to kind of, I guess, I don't want to say legitimize it, but they
That's what
tried to
they
bring
did.
it closer to like a regular golfer situation, because
Right.
I think that people just had no idea in the difference in distance. Like and you get some guy. I think the video they always show is what's his name out of Pennsylvania? I'm drawing a blank. He was
Carl Walter.
Carl Walters. Yeah, he was.
Yep.
Ben Witter was his coach there, but.
Yep.
But I remember the one year Carl won it, like the first time. That's actually, I watched that. I remember watching that, and I remember thinking Carl looked like he was 38 by the way, but I think he was like 22 or something. And
yeah.
And anyhow, I remember, like, I always thought that something looked a little different, but I think he was using like a 52-inch shaft.
It was a 55-inch shaft. Yeah, it was an AccuFlex 55-inch shaft.
Yeah, when he won it, and now, I mean, we're at USGA compliant equipment, right? So our heads all have to be USGA compliant or conforming, and the shaft length is conforming. So even up to a few years ago, they were letting us use like a half an inch to 3/4 of an inch longer shaft.
Right.
I mean, we were kind of just like, why don't everybody thinks we're using this goofy equipment. Let's just go to regular USGA conforming standards. So that's what we did.
Yeah, and people don't realize it. I mean, it has to do, like, equipment has come a long way. I don't want to downplay that. Callaway really stepped up with a lot of their technology and bringing on. They had one of the biggest long drive teams, and they may still. I don't. I'm not 100% sure, but some of these guys, I mean, they're just so fast. They can hit a putter further than you can hit. Most people can hit a driver, and that's the self-evident part. I talk to people all the time. Like, I'm more of a guy now where I went like 420 a couple times at competition, but that was back in the day. Now I'd rather sit on a par 3 and hit a bucket of balls, see if I can get close to the pin, right? But to your point, it did legitimize the sport, and it went from a lot of the rules that are in the USGA now, as far as driver length goes, and the club head volume, or however many cc's it is now. I guess it's 460 still. I mean, I remember Integra had a 600 cc club head.
Wow.
And it sounded like you're hitting an empty beer can. So it's just just interesting where. Yeah.
The way they measure, like the core and the UCT, a lot of that stuff. I mean, it was kind of like the wild, wild west, I suppose, for a while. It was. Would have to keep reining things in, and
there were guys shaving the face of the club. They were like facing the club to make it thinner for more trampoline. I mean, I saw balls literally get caved in. You still see that now from speed, but this was because people were messing with things. I mean, they were putting Vaseline on the face. It was ridiculous what people were doing to try to win. But
the one year Jamie Sedlowski checked in like 35 drivers at the World Championship.
Yep.
He was swapping a driver out like every set, so sometimes twice, but which is crazy. But
right. So as far as the PLDA goes now, what is the approach to it, right? So if someone wants to give it a shot, the guy the long guy in your group who's like, I could hit it further than such and such, where can they go to be shown that they're not really as long as they are?
Well, so we one of our goals is to take it to the masses, right, as much as possible. And some of the restrictions in the past with long drive is, first of all, you have to find a facility that will actually be long enough to have a contest, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm. And even here in my state of Utah, there's like 100 and something golf courses, and there's basically 3 driving ranges that are long enough to even think about having a competition.
Right.
And then even those driving ranges, if the weather is optimal for the direction you're hitting and the ground and things like that, even 2 of those aren't even long enough. So we're down to 1 in the whole state. And the only reason that golf course is long enough is because that's where we host our events, and the city approved them to extend the driving range like 120 yards. So
Is that where the Rockwell events were?
it is, yeah. That's
Okay.
where we do the Rockwell,
Okay.
and that's coming back this year. But yeah, I mean, it'll go like 483 yards,
Yep.
and the farthest that we've had somebody hit, I think Jim Waldron a few years ago hit at like 454 there.
Okay.
So,
Are you at
but,
elevation there too?
we're like 4,300. So
Okay.
the elevation is high. Usually we do it in the summer or end of the summer, so the ground is firm.
Mhm.
But we always get the way the grid faces to the east into the mountains, which is pretty cool because it, you know, as the sun's going down, the competition's ending, you can
Right.
track the ball flight the whole way. The detriment is that the wind blows typically north and south, so you have a crosswind. We rarely ever get tailwinds. If we got a tailwind, you know, I think we could have some guys going 480s. So
Okay. All right, cool. So you're looking to take it to the masses. Are you going to go back to now? I don't know when you started, was there still like regions, right? So I live in Pennsylvania. Actually, Carl Walter, I used to see Ben Witter all the time. He lived like maybe 40 minutes from here.
yeah. On a side note with Ben Witter, I have to tell you this. The first time I ever went to the World Championships and stayed, I think it was in 2011.
Mhm.
He did this trick shot show
Best
that was
ever.
it was the most unbelievable thing. And he did this where he did like 30 different shots.
Mhm.
And he starts out and he hit, and you didn't know he was doing this, but he just starts out by doing something like somebody throws him a ball and he hits it off the bounce.
Yeah.
And you're watching this and he hits it like 300 yards, like right down the middle of the fairway. And then he gets to where he's like standing on one of those Bosu balls, or not Bosu balls, the Swiss balls.
Yep. Yep.
Somebody's throwing him a ball in the air, bouncing it, and then he's hitting it still 300 yards, like right
Yep.
down the
Yep.
fairway. And every trick as it got more complex, he just like locked in and got better and better. It was the greatest.
Yeah.
I would say him and Dan Beaver. If you've ever watched Dan
Yep.
Beaver,
Yep.
do a trick shot show.
I competed against him.
Yeah, those two guys, you just sit there and you're like, this isn't even possible. How are they doing this? I don't know.
Yeah.
Macho Man Trevor Savage, he has a great
Yep.
show too. So,
Yeah.
but anyhow, yeah, what we want to try and do is we still have 3 stages. We have local qualifying, stage 1. Stage 2 is regional qualifying, and then stage 3 is obviously the World Championship. So.
Right.
With that, that's kind of how the World Championship works. Within that, we're also trying to promote a professional tour. So with these regional events, this year we're scheduled for 8 regional events and a World Championship here in the United
Okay.
States. And actually, one of the events is in Canada. So in Port Rowan, Ontario, which is it's like an hour west of Niagara Falls. So beautiful
Okay.
area, especially in the summertime. But
Yeah, they used to do an international event up there, didn't they? They had one there and then they had one in Mexico. I know Bobby was all part of the
Yep.
were you part of Team USA as well?
Yeah, so that's going to be that's Rick and Bill with the ILDC,
Right. Yep.
and they're actually the organization that's running that event in Port Rowan, Ontario.
Okay.
So
Cool. Yeah.
they're good guys. I think they've run like 15, 16 years up there, and they do the world match play or the world team championships and all that.
Yep.
So good guys. But yeah, so along with that, qualifying and that, we also have the professional tour that we're trying to do. So we do our tour events in conjunction with the regional events. So the idea right now is like on a weekend, we would do Fridays local qualifying, like a last chance local qualifying.
Mm-hmm.
Saturday would be a regional event, and then Sunday would be the tour event. So
Okay.
that's probably going to adjust and modify as this grows. We would like to have the ability to incorporate some pro-ams with that, so that we can help bring exposure to the sport.
Sure. Right.
Help drive some revenue to increase purses and whatnot. So, but for this year, that's what we're planning. You asked earlier, like if somebody wants to get into it or somebody wants to even just try it, how can they do it? Well, we've thought a lot about this, and we feel like it's time to incorporate technology into this first stage of qualifying, because in my mind, one of the biggest obstacles to somebody trying this is they don't think they can do it. And so if they're doubting themselves, they're not going to drive 10 hours to Albuquerque like I did for my first qualifier.
No, trust me, I did basically the entire East Coast.
Yeah.
For a 3-minute set.
But that's an obstacle that a lot of people they're not going to get there. So what we've done is we've teamed up. Number one, we've teamed up with About Golf, and with About Golf simulators. In the next couple of weeks, let me put a plug in. If you haven't already, go to our webpage, prolongdrivers.com.
I'll put it down the bottom here as well.
About halfway, enter your email address. If you put that in and sign up for our emails, you'll get an email from us. You have to click on that email that says you accept emails from us. So we're trying our best to be legitimate digital marketers and not spam everybody. So be sure to accept us in that email. But if you'll do that in the next couple of weeks, we're going to have a big announcement with About Golf and how we're doing qualifying with them and through them. Now, I just talked with Tom Uphold from Family Golf and Games Today in Memphis. They're our second event. Okay. And he's going to do qualifying with technology as well, but he has a top tracer system at their facility. So they're going to use Top Tracer. Okay. Now, the reason this stuff's important is because in the old days, you'd have to find a facility, then you would have to lay out, the grid, just like they kind of do a football field, except it's 2.5 times as long, typically, sometimes longer, which is a lot of work. And you have to have a big staff, right? When I would host local qualifiers, we would try and get as many people there and qualify for multiple regionals. And so we were doing 3 and 4 players on the tee at a time.
Right.
And when we did that, you'd have to have a staff of 12 to 15 people. And over a 2 or 3 day period of time, that's really hard to do. If we use technology in the first stage, it allows players to give it a chance, and there's not a big downside to them trying it and failing or not doing well. Right. In fact, we have the belief, or at least I do, that once people try it, they love it, they enjoy it.
It happens to everyone I know.
Yeah, and it's almost, I don't want to say addicting, but there is just something, especially for guys who are former athletes. I'm willing to admit I'm a former college baseball player.
Look, we're all still athletes. None of us are former. It's in there somewhere.
In my mind, I will always be an athlete. But this to me, I didn't play professional baseball. I had aspirations to, but I wasn't good enough.
Yep.
But when I got introduced to this, I was, like I said, I think I was 32 years old, just turned 32. And just started, trying it, and I loved it. It gave me something to work towards, to practice, to go to the gym to work out for. I mean, I was kind of at a point in my life before that where I was not really active, and so I had put on a few LBs and was going down that path. So I kind of feel like, for me, this serves multiple purposes. But I love competing, gives me motivation to work out and train, and I've traveled the world doing this.
Yeah.
And won some money. If I'm in the black or red, I don't know. But all I know is I never traveled before this, and now I've been to China and Portugal and Mexico and Dubai, and I mean I'm hoping to go to Japan this year. We've got an affiliate in Japan that's trying to get us over there to come see what they're doing, and that's one of the other things that we're trying to do. We know that we're here in the States, and to build it here, somebody's got to do that. So we're taking on that role. But we also feel like one of the reasons why Long Drive has failed in the past is we had this one central organization, and everybody was just waiting for them to set the schedule, to do this and that. Well, we want to be the organization that is working with other organizations so that they can establish Long Drive in their area. So right now we have a great relationship with some players in Australia, New Zealand, Japan, I mentioned, South Korea, South Africa, Europe, Canada. I mean, those are pretty much the strongholds of Long Drive right there.
And you have ambassadors there too, right? So you have all the, you have Joe Miller, who in the UK, who was, one, just an amazing, amazing at the sport. And from what I never met him in person, but I hear he's a really great guy too. So,
Oh, he's a
um,
dope. No, he's
yeah, but you have, I mean,
Joe is a great guy.
you have these, you talk about, whether you're in the black or the red or whatever. And like, one of the things that, like, Ed Hinson is still a good friend of mine. And that was all through just having conversations, via text and all that other kind of stuff. And he and William actually came up here to help me out with an event in Atlantic City where William competed against Brad Skupeka. And, those two went head. I think William beat him by maybe 2 yards. I was a spotter. I was scared out of my life. I was hiding behind trees and stuff. But, it's you have that reach, that international reach, just through, hitting golf balls. And I think that's that brotherhood I'm talking about. And even, even the women, you have Phyllis Meddy's from New Zealand, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So she has that reach too.
And there are some new players that, there's a gal out of Thailand. I'm going to butcher her name. Her name is Dai Che Teapot. Is her forgive me if you hear this. Anyways, we were hanging out with her last year at the PGA show.
Yep.
And she played golf at Wake Forest, and I mean she can move it. Kanani Lodge, who I think she's 24 years old, and anyway, she lives up in Washington State right now.
Yep.
And she's 190 plus ball speed.
Yep.
It not even to mention Chloe Garner, the current reigning
she's originally from Australia, right?
She's from South Africa.
South Africa, right? Okay.
Yeah, and the Europeans, they've got 2 or 3 gals that are real good that can move it too. So, I mean, they're out there, and I'm a firm believer that there's a lot more people out there. It's almost to a detriment, right? I'll give you a perfect example: Martin Borgmeyer, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you guys know the full beard long drive is what he, but that guy, he is a machine, right?
Yeah.
He shows up to the sport, and he's in a relatively short amount of time, he's one of the fastest guys in the world, if not the fastest, right? You've got, I mean, right now, there's probably the 4 guys that really stand out as far as speed. Kyle Berkshire,
mm-hmm.
Martin Borgmeyer, Justin James, Josh Koch. Those guys are all, when they're all on all cylinders, they're all mid 220s up to 232.
So I used to compete against Justin's dad, Jerry, who is an animal. I mean, he ripped, I think it was at Ben's event in the 2002 Summer Nationals. Jason Zubak was there. And that was the big draw. And I think Jerry was there. And then he teed off, and then he ripped his shirt off, and then he started hitting balls with no shirt on. He's just a wild man. And so they're the things I remember, right? So these are back in the, I mean, I forget, I can't even remember who won. Chad, someone won that one, but he won a Chevy Avalanche. That was crazy back in the day. But yeah, those guys are crazy fast. I mean, I've seen some fast guys, but that Kyle Berkshire is just, the club head speed he generates is ridiculous. I don't even know how he can square it up, to be honest.
Of those 4 guys I just mentioned, Justin James has been competing the longest, and his first event was at the East Coast Classic, I think 5 years ago or 4 years ago.
I think it was the second one.
2000, maybe it's 2016. Anyways, I mean, all of those guys are relatively newcomers. So, like I said, I am firmly in the department of, there's a lot of people out there that could do this that don't even know because they haven't tried it yet.
Yeah.
So,
and so are you, I know about the sport, right? So I was in it at one point. I was literally in the sport. I had a company that was related to the sport. And then all of a sudden it just kind of went, it ended up, to me, it got away from what it was about, right? So it became like glitzy, it became glamorous, and I think it all started when they had the event at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. That kind of, yeah, that turned me off. Although I was happy for Tim, I was disappointed for Joe, because I think that was the year Joe, when they asked him what he's going to do with the money, he said he's going to buy a Ferrari. Like, he had no qualms about it. But I'm excited to see this go back to kind of a grassroots kind of event. And I think with you guys doing it, and look, if there's any way I can help here in the Philadelphia area, I'm all about it. I'll help you guys out. I have a lot of connections here. And even as far as, like a tour event, if you guys want to do that, there's a ton of golf courses around here. And but yeah, I'm excited to see what it is you guys do, how you do it. Because I'm sure you guys learned a lot of stuff that as the athletes yourselves doing, performing at these events, what you didn't like,
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It also gives you, as we've started this organization, it's given us a really good insight to what Art was doing. And I remember sometimes thinking, like, why do they do that? And now I realize, oh, that's why they did it.
Yeah.
And same thing with the Golf Channel. If you look at the amount of money that the Golf Channel put into it, I mean, they were giving it a really good shot at getting it going.
Right.
And like I said, they were very successful in getting a lot of eyeballs on it. There are probably more people aware of it now than there ever have been.
Mhm.
And so, like, to just pick up the ball and carry it forward from what those organizations have done. And the world's changing. We feel like with technology, if we can get more people trying it, that will help. That'll help fuel it. But it all comes down to money, really, at this
Right.
point right now. And
Yeah.
So our plan is to not go out and try and land $1 million sponsorships. Our plan right now is to prove our concept, and then go out and try and find those sponsors that will benefit from partnering with us.
Right.
And we think that the golf world's changing. I mean, with COVID, it kind of killed some industries.
Yep.
But if you look at the golf industry, I mean, it boomed. It was, what could people do, right?
It was the only thing you could do, right?
Yeah. And so I mean, at my driving range, that I practice, they had tee slots set up that you would have to book in advance to get a slot on, get a spot on the tee box.
Mhm.
And junior golf programs are up. I think that a lot of golf has seen a real uptick.
Yep.
And with other things happening in the sport, like Bryson DeChambeau, the long ball is appreciated more now than it ever has. So if we can kind of take advantage of the positives that are coming along with COVID, I think that will it'll help out. So, but in the end, we're definitely a fledgling organization, and we're doing our best to grow and develop. But we need players. But so the biggest thing I would say is, if you or somebody is long, get them to come out, get them to try
Look,
it.
I'm calling so many people out, like, personally. When I put this out, I'm gonna tag everyone, like, boom, 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 check this out, because to your point, you just don't know. Like, I know that there are guys. I mean, when I went to compete, I went to hope that the other guy missed, right?
Yeah.
So, you just have to have a different kind of mindset. And, everyone has a bad day. I mean, not, some guys don't. David Mobley really never seemed to have a bad day. That guy could hit it no matter the wind conditions, ground conditions. But, to your point, if you want to give it a shot, you guys, it sounds like you guys are giving everyone an option to go and not have to drive a tremendous amount of miles, get a hotel, do all that kind of stuff. And if you can utilize the technology, why not do it?
Yeah. And I think the usage, some people, maybe if you're old school and a purist, you'd say, oh, that's not the same. But in reality, if you qualify, through a simulator local qualifier that's done on a TrackMan or a Top Tracer or whatever.
You're all hitting in the same exact conditions.
Yeah. You show up to a regional event, and I mean, if you qualify through a local, you belong in the regional. That's all there is to it. Because
right.
You can't. I mean, if you beat 3 or 4 or 5 or 10 guys to get that local qualifying spot, I mean, you've earned it. And that's what it's about. Players will show up and not have a lot of experience, and they'll realize that if they work on it just a little bit. You mentioned David Mobley, right? Was David Mobley ever the fastest guy in the world?
He was never the fastest guy in the world.
No, he's never even close, right? But that guy could flight the ball with whatever the conditions were.
Yep.
He could, and maybe he would be stuck if he had to carry it the whole way. But I mean, if he could roll it out, he would flight that ball to roll it out, and he would roll it out, as good or better than anybody. And so he was always competitive. He's a multi-world champion, time world champion.
Yep.
So it's not always about speed. In fact, a lot of times the faster you are, if you don't focus on flighting the ball, it's a detriment to you because
it'll balloon it or it'll go right or left.
Yeah, and you feel like, no, the answer is I just need to swing harder. Well, no, it's not. You need to hit it better. So
if you're in a groove and you swing hard, if you're in a groove and you get in a real good groove, you're going to hit the ball a mile.
Oh yeah.
But so that's good. I'm interested. And like I said, I'll actually link you. I'll in the bottom of this when I go through editing, I'll put your website and probably your logo on there as well. So I actually thought you guys were going no. So Bobby built like a ridiculous, we'll just call it a training facility at his house.
Yeah. Yeah. So he's very resourceful is what I would say. So he has like, I don't know, 82 acres or something. He's got a chicken farm, and it's out in the middle of North Carolina. And I mean, in the middle of like in the sticks, it's out there, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And but he's adding on. He's got plans for another building, but right now he's got an indoor facility that's like a 60 by 40 that has a golf simulator. It's got bays that you can open up. He's got a practice tee box out front. He's got a warm-up range in front of the building. I mean, his grid goes like 465 yards. If you can hit it to the end of his grid in North Carolina, I mean, that's like hitting 500 yards.
Yeah.
In Mesquite. I mean, it's
right.
But he does lessons. His company is the One Stop Power Shop, so you could buy equipment from him through him. He's a Callaway distributor, so he can get you anything Callaway. He's a club builder, club fitter. I talked to the guy. He'll fool you too. Like people will talk to him and he'll put on this country boy, thick Southern accent, and and you won't, you'll think, who is this guy? He's supposed to be somebody, but he knows his stuff. He plays dumb a lot. So like when people are trying to test him, he's already. I mean, he was in the military and he was trained in psychological warfare, and I think he used it a lot.
Right. Yeah. I've no doubt. I've met him a few times. He's a great guy, and obviously he's one of the coaches out there. I know he's coached Landon for a long time, and they would always talk to everyone always thanks Bobby Peterson, right? Because he's that guy. He's always at the forefront, and he likes to compete too, but he's always out there trying to make other people better. And I think that's one of the things that people may or may not understand, probably about him. And I don't know him very well, but also everyone else. You guys are out there. You might have, I'm sure you've had 5-10 guys out there, and you're all trying to help each other get longer because that's what you do, So the brotherhood's strong.
We feel like, there's room for people, like you said earlier, there's some outliers. There's maybe some guys that maybe don't get along, but I think in general, for the most part, long drivers are accepting of newcomers.
Yep.
They're once they get to know you, they love you. And so if you're a newcomer and you come out to these events, be humble, but don't be afraid to talk to people.
Right.
what your perception of a lot of these people are, maybe from television or whatever, I would say is probably not super accurate sometimes.
Yeah.
Because everybody wants to see the sport grow. So when you get a newcomer, everybody's welcoming to the newcomer.
Sure.
If they're not,
Yeah.
then they're a jerk, and you don't.
Right.
You
No
care
one
what
wants
they
to deal
say.
with you in
So,
general in life, right? So,
yeah.
well, that's good. So
Like
have
you
you,
talked about, there's that brotherhood,
right?
and I
Mhm.
think that's really true. We get together before the events, we get together after the events. On social media, we have chat groups and
Right.
whatnot where we're connected all year round. So
Yeah.
I think it's a pretty good deal. So
Right. So as far as regions go, do you have an idea of what those regions are going to be?
yeah, so we've kind of changed. It's not necessarily specific regions. So if we go to the website and look at the schedule, the first event is this March 4th through the 7th in Mesquite. The second event is in Memphis, Tennessee. We tried to kind of spread it out by region.
Okay.
So we're going, Mesquite, Nevada, Memphis, Tennessee, Columbia, South Carolina. We go back to Mesquite in May, and then in June we're in in LaSalle, Colorado, just out of Denver. Then we go back east to Port Rowan, which I said is just east of Niagara Falls, there near Buffalo. And then we stay there in the Northeast for in Portland, Connecticut. There's a guy named Chris Cody. He's got a new driving range. It's got some new technology and whatnot. He's got Top Tracer there, but he's got a new driving range that is long and flat, and we're excited to partner with with Chris on this because
Okay.
I felt like for a while there's been a need for more more events in the Northeast. So we'll
Yeah.
we'll
Look,
be there at the end of August.
I'm
Or
in
excuse me, the end of
Pennsylvania
July.
here. Yeah, I'm right here in Philadelphia, and it was always hard. I would have to go either to New Jersey, or there was one event. I actually just drove past it not too long ago, but it looks like they let the trees grow in at the end of the grid. And I used to have to go up to. I was up in like Syracuse and um, like northern Jersey, so it wasn't very easy to get to. But I know
Yeah.
there's a golf place here. It's like I forget what it's called, and I'll send you a link to it. And if you have any interest, let me know. I'll be more than happy to facilitate for you guys down here because I think this is a big market for that.
Yeah, well, we're excited. So we try to kind of spread it out. The area where I feel like we need more events is in the South, because it seems like in the Southeast there's a lot of players.
Yep.
So I'm hoping that at some point we can move some of the events, maybe do an event in Arizona earlier in the year,
Mhm.
and then be able to add an event in the South at some point. The problem with the South is it rains a lot in the spring,
Yep.
and so the weather can be a little bit dicey. And then when you get too late into summer, it is so hot and sweaty. But
Yeah.
we may have to just do that. We may have to
Yeah.
just do it.
Yeah.
But I think that's the one region. And then for some reason, I think we gotta find something in Texas. A good friend, Glenn Wilson Jr. down there in Houston. We got to find a way to get an event down there. And then California is so grossly underrepresented in long drive. It's amazing. There's so many people there, and so many golfers, but for whatever reason, it's hard to find a place there to do an event.
Well, they're all
So,
moving to Texas now, so you could just have one big event in Texas, right?
and they're moving to Texas, Arizona, Utah, and Idaho. Yeah,
Yeah.
they're on the outs. So
Yeah. Yeah. I hear you.
we would. Yeah, we would love to. I mean, we would love to have the problem where there's too many people that want to compete, and we got to come up with more events.
Yeah.
I mean, that's our dream, right? And I'll give you an idea too of where this could go. We've done, some events. We've been to events in Dubai, and the Jumeirah Golf Estates has a facility there that we've done an event, 2 events there. It was fantastic. They were very accommodating. I would like to get back to Dubai. I'd like to get back to or go to Japan. I think there's, I mean, the golf market in Japan is like 24 or 5% of the golf market in the world.
Yep.
So for not such a large country, there's a tremendous population of players in Japan. And I mean, we partnered up with Shinji Matsutani, who's the owner of the Pro Dracon Association, which is the long drive group there. And I mean, it's amazing what they've been doing to grow. You have to take a test to be a part of their association. Like you don't just sign up and pay a fee. Like it's serious business over there.
Yeah.
And so he's doing everything he can. And anyhow, it's growing. I think it's going to take some time, but we're hoping that in a matter of a couple of short years that there will be a lot more money, and we'll have kind of a world tour where we travel around and have 3 or 4 major events throughout the year, and bigger purses for the players. And but I would love to get Europe's got some great venue. I mean, we did one in Mexico City at La Hacienda, which is, I think it's like the oldest active country club or golf course in Mexico. And I mean, it was just the most beautiful facility, and this super accommodating. And that's at like 7,000 feet too.
Right. Yeah.
So you can have some really fun at that high,
yeah.
A lot of fun at that high elevation. But
right.
Anyways, that's kind of our vision is, if we can get the right partners to go along with us and make it happen, we hope to really put it, take it through the roof. So.
Okay. So when is the World Championship? When is that again?
So it's the last week in September.
Okay.
It starts, let me just make sure the dates are right. September 22nd through the 29th.
Okay.
Through the 29th. That's at the Mesquite Sports and Events Complex. And 128 open division players. And we'll have 32 ladies division and 32 senior division players. The ladies division and the senior division, we are going to announce here in a couple of weeks that the qualifying that we're doing through them is through the About Golf Simulator. Mm-hmm. So if you're in the ladies division and the senior division, we're going to do like a month-long qualifying session, and you can come and try and qualify for the World Championship. And you don't have to do regionals at that point. We're trying to get it to the point where we can do a ladies competition, a senior competition, and an open competition at these tour events. Mm-hmm. So we can grow, we can expand, but we got to have that player participation to do it. And hopefully people will feel more comfortable traveling this,
right.
Here in the next month or two, hopefully with vaccines and the warmer weather, et cetera.
Right. So you're not going to just take like an aggregate of like the longest people and say these are the people that are going to come. It's going to be by event. So if I went to a local event here and I'm the longest at 330 on a simulator, and there's a guy who's 380 on another simulator, I still placed here and he placed there. Is that how that's going to work?
So on the About Golf Simulator, we can set the conditions so that everybody who's competing in that qualifier mm-hmm. is up against the same conditions.
Okay.
And so we will take it'll be open for a week long. So you can go in and do your attempt, and then we'll take the top, right now the plan is to do 1 in 10. That's how our numbers break down. So every 10 people that sign up for a local qualifier, one of those people is going to advance to the regional. So. Okay. And you'll have 3 chances in a week. You can go in and sign up. There'll be 3 different local qualifying sessions each week. So if you go to session A and you compete, and you want to try it again, you can register for session B and then session C, and they'll all run simultaneously. So then after that week, it'll reset, and there'll be 3 new local qualifiers that you can enter that week. So
got it.
That's how the open division is going to work. So
okay, all right, cool. So I had another question. It just kind of escaped me, but are you doing any kind of like media? Like, are you going to have like, someone, is there any expectation for like videoing there, or are you looking for partners in that aspect? Or is there anything like to be maybe record and just have like that social media or media presence?
So we do some of that right now. I think the next level that we need to take it to is to where we work with the production company and do like a tape delay
Right.
broadcast.
Okay.
Ultimately, we want to get to where we're putting the sport, at least towards the end of the competition, live on TV, and live stream it, at the same time. So,
Yep.
we've been researching the cost to do that, and any live production is really expensive. I mean,
Right.
you're talking at minimum, somewhere around $200,000 to $250,000 to do a live 1 hour televised event.
Right.
And that's and like I mean, that's just to have the satellite trucks there, to have, the sound, the graphics,
Yeah.
all of that stuff connected. Lighting is a whole different story. So, we hope to get there someday, but it's got to be the right partner, and
Sure.
obviously it's got to provide the juice has to be worth the squeeze
Sure.
for
Yeah.
somebody to get involved with it. And so we want to try and build our platform with that in mind, that someday we'll have, some partners that are willing to throw some money at it and grow and develop it. So,
It's tough going from the sport to the business, right? It's real tough.
it is, yeah. And my performance on the tee box since we've started doing this has declined.
You have a different kind of stress. You're not clear-minded just worrying about hitting the ball. You're worried about all the other stuff that's involved with that.
Yeah, and it wears you down. Like, you don't think about that, but when players show up to an event, usually somebody's been there, for 2 or 3 days, getting things prepared. Even if it's not even like on-site preparations, it's, things, just making sure that everything and people are in place, that when it does, happen, and that can be
Right.
stressful, and it can, be late nights and early mornings. And so by the
Yep.
time the competition rolls around, you got no legs, and you maybe look good for a few sets, and then you tire out pretty quickly.
You've been eating cookies just trying to keep going. And then you get there and
Yeah.
all your energy's all gone. I get it. Trust me.
Sucking down Dr. Peppers.
Right. So I guess one of my last questions I have. So I'm pretty good friends with Brian Steffen from the ALD, right? So the Amateur Long Drive. You guys going to try to get associated with them at all to maybe bring like maybe their champion out to see, as an amateur status? Or
So we have, I think there's some confusion on our relationship with Amateur Long Drive. And some people have this thought that maybe we're against them. Our perspective is, from the Professional Long Drivers Association, is we formed the association so that we could have player representation, that we would be able to further the players' interests.
Yep.
So from a player's perspective, if Jeff Gilder and Ed LaPierre and those guys are hosting events and they're taking the time and effort to do that, we're not going to discourage players from going to that. I mean, all the better, right? The more people they can get involved in their sport or their organization, we feel like that will only help us. The more exposure that we can also produce, that will help their organization as well. So I don't think that we will necessarily like do a merger and combine. Their focus, I know that they have the XLD, which is a professional, they're kind of their pro side of long drive.
Mhm.
Their bread and butter is amateur, and they're good at it. They're good at finding new athletes and new players. And our goal, or not our goal, but I guess our focus right now is to keep that elite level of long drive going. And so that's kind of, we're focused on that, and they're focused more on amateur and development. So we, I mean, they'll come out to our events. I know, like, Bobby's been to some of their events. I've competed in one of their events. It's a little bit different. Like their format of play is a little bit different than
Sure.
ours.
Yeah.
And
Everyone's
so,
going to put their own flavor on, right? Yeah, I get that.
yeah. But I mean, like, in the end, we are not anti amateur long drive at all by any means. And we are pro long drive in whatever form that is. And like I said, we want more people competing.
Sure.
Obviously we want them competing with our organization, but if they start, we've had numerous people that started in ALD and moved over, and some that do both. So, like from our perspective, it's a win for us and a win for them. And
for sure.
we wish
you want to get bodies
best
in there, right? You want to get bodies in there. You want to get people to come in and, be exposed to that. And there's nothing bad that will come of it because you're around people, like you, for example, just someone coming and talking to you who's been on the ESPN spotlight in the, or the Golf Channel spotlight and all that kind of stuff, doing interviews. And, that's a different kind of pressure, right? So you can take the guy who hits the grid every single time and you put him in a stadium atmosphere. He might not even be able to tee the ball up. And I've been there,
Oh yeah.
So I think it's important. And I hope that everyone who listens to this understands that, when you go out and you try to, if you're interested in trying to do this, introduce yourself to people, because not only will you get, I guess your nerves will be settled a little bit, but you also get exposure to the right equipment and how to get measured and, maybe even, someone that can help you along the way. So, I think it's important. And Ryan, I'm so excited to see how you guys end up getting this to take shape. And I hope that 2021 is good to you guys and is good to this sport because it's needed. And I can't imagine the amount of resources and equity you guys have already put in out of your own money, because there's no way you made money yet at all. So
we are this much in the black.
Okay. Well, that's good. That's good.
So we're proud of that. Now, we're also taking we also had a certain scenario last year where we did all of the contests at the One Stop Power Shop, right? So we had a facility that Bobby was contributing that didn't cost us money.
Right.
We do have, membership fees that we ask players to pay to be a part of it.
Mm-hmm.
But we also, we also pay 100% of the entry fees. So, if the entry fee is $600 for a tour event, we pay out $600 times however many competitors there are. We don't keep any of that money. In fact, sometimes we're in the negative because, people will pay using a method that costs us money, right?
Yep.
So we're trying to find ways to get players to pay through ways that don't cost us money, but still is convenient for both parties. So
for sure,
stuff like that. But yeah, we're trying to put the horses first and not the cart. But if I could mention a couple of quick things before.
Sure. Yeah.
I know we're kind of running low on time.
No, I got all the time in the world, buddy. Trust me.
So there's a couple of things that I would mention. First of all, if you have any questions about long drive or you want to get in touch with us, feel free to reach out to me. Just Ryan Reisbeck. That's my handle for everything: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. DM me. If you go to our website, my phone number is one of the websites on the phone number. Feel free to reach out to me. I'm an open book. I'll talk to you. I don't have a problem, with whatever it is. Obviously, I don't do like online lessons and stuff like that, but I do have an instructional video. It's called Driving Smarter, Driving Farther. And so if anybody, it's really good for like junior golfers or anybody just trying to get into the sport. It's $90. You buy it, you own it. I tell people all the time, like if you want to get some instruction and you don't want to pay like a monthly membership or go see a coach for whatever, that Driving Smarter, Driving Farther, it's an X-Pollination company production. That is the most bang for your buck right there, like hands down. And so I'll tell you right now, if you want some instruction at your own pace, it's a master class, do that. but
I'll put all the
feel
links and everything in this as well.
Okay, yeah,
Yep.
but feel free to call, reach out to me, reach out to the PLDA, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. I don't even know if we do Twitter. Twitter feels like
If there is, I'll
I'm in
find it
this
and I'll put a link.
generation gap where like Twitter feels too old to me, but TikTok is like way too young.
Right.
So I'm in this like, and I don't like the Facebook nearly as much as I like Instagram. So
Yeah, I hear
that's
you.
where I am my generational.
Right. Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you. However, if you could get a young guy or even, someone's kids to do TikToks for you guys,
Oh, it's
yeah,
crazy how viral they can go.
yeah. Why I see all these guys
So.
at Top Golf, like, oh, they're hitting the ball over the net. It's like, okay, like you're 3 stories up. It's really not that big of a deal, but
Yeah.
it's still pretty cool. All right, so let me ask you this one question. What kind of sponsorships are you looking for? And if someone's interested in being a participant in a sponsorship role, who do they get in touch with? Do they get in touch with you as well?
Yep. Yeah. Reach out to me. What I would say, I'm a businessman, in my non long drive career as well. And so for me, I have a hard time asking people for money and not being able to deliver some sort of value.
Right.
And so for me, if it's going to be a long-term relationship that's going to benefit both parties and not feel like somebody's getting ripped off, I feel like, to me at least, it's got to jive with kind of what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
But I think, something like a drink company would work, or anything that, is golf related or just outdoor related or sport related.
Right.
Like I just think like a beverage company would go hand in hand.
Sure.
Really well. It's hard to do like a golf manufacturer, just because, like if you're the whatever company sponsoring it and the guy from the other club manufacturer wins, or you're going to say that you're the I hit this club, but I'm the other guy's. I'm the title sponsor as somebody
else.
else.
That was the trick at the end of. That was the trick at the end of every world long. That was the thing. Like, oh, this guy hit this company, and then now he's hitting Callaway. It's like, yeah, wait, they gave him money, guys, and equipment, and probably a contract for a whole year, and so I understand that part as well.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I would say. That kind of leads into just somewhere that somebody can find value in what we're doing. Now, there's some things that we're working on right now as well that deal with pro-ams and partnering with companies to provide an experience to some of their executives or top salesmen,
Right.
things like that. So we're working on some of that stuff that I think will help. But one thing that gets missed a lot is that a lot of long drivers do things that help raise funds for charities.
Right.
And that's another aspect that we want to incorporate is the charitable component. Because a lot of people, if you're doing something for a good cause, there are people out there with money that are willing to throw some money at it.
Right.
As long, if it's helping a cause, then they're all about it. I've got some friends that are very well off and very good hearted, and they donate a lot of money and do a lot of things. But they enjoy being around the players. They enjoy playing in a pro-am and things like that. And so, that's something else that we're working on. There's a lot of stuff we're working on. We have a lot of plans, and we're, hopefully COVID will take a hike and get out of here, and we can get back to being with people a lot, interacting, and I think that will help. So, I mean, charities have suffered tremendously this last year.
Right.
We do an event with JDRF and Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation, and a lot of their fundraising events are like walks and fun runs and things like that. Well, you can't go on a walk with 15,000 people right now down the street.
Yeah.
So they're scrambling to do things, but anyways.
Yeah.
So we feel like that's something that we want to do as well, as be a part of communities and try and do some some payback. One of the best events is the event in Memphis, Tennessee. Spencer McDaniel puts that on, and one year it's called the Bluff City Shootout. And one year he had an arrangement with St. Jude's Children's Hospital where we could go and do a tour, and you learn about something like St. Jude's and how the patients there and their families are not expected to pay anything for that treatment. I mean, the goal of that facility is to provide the absolute best care at zero cost to the patients and their family.
Yep.
And, you know, something like that, like how can you not get behind that? So I just think there's so much we can do with Long Drive that's positive, and we want to be a part of that. So
I guess that was the Tennessee Shootout was started off of, I don't know if it was that was the same event or not, but there was a Bart.
Yeah, Bart Hartzell.
Bart Hartzell, right? Yeah, because I remember back in the day, it was just all directed towards the hospital, and they had tremendous funding, and it was, I mean, they donated hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars over the course of years. So yeah, I think that's a very admirable thing, and that's the part of it. You don't really know what people go through and all that. And if you can go out and hit a golf ball and make someone smile and they give you a little bit of money, it's great. Doesn't get any better than that. So I'll put all the links and everything in the description, and I'll put, like I said, there will be some information on the screen through the editing process. But is there anything else you want people to know, or?
I would just say, in closing, the whole point of Long Drive is to smash the ball. And if you like smashing drives, you got to try it. And if you know somebody that can hit the ball a long way, a lot of people never even swing as hard as they can, right? That's one thing I've learned. People don't swing as hard as they can, so they don't think they can do it. But then all of a sudden, they get, think of like a pitcher in baseball. When a pitcher in baseball pitches their first pitch in the game, they've been warming up for 45 minutes, right? Mm-hmm. So players in golf don't do that. They roll out of the cart and do a couple of dry swings and then hit a ball, and they're not even close to warm up.
Right. Yeah.
So there's people out there. There's more people that can do this, and I promise you, you will enjoy it when you do it. It's just fun. Everybody likes, as much as somebody likes draining a 50-foot putt for double eagle, or that's great. But there's just something different about smashing a drive,
right?
That is way more fulfilling than some dinky little putt. So, anyways, that's my pitch for Long Drive. If you know somebody who smashes it or wants to smash it, you tell them, look up prolongdrivers.com and get started.
Got it. So last thing is, what are the ages? So open and senior, what is the age range?
So right now it's 18 and older. You have to be at least 18 to compete. Senior division is 45, and ladies division is 18 and older. Junior divisions to come in the future, and we're looking at some amateur stuff this year at our world championship. So
perfect.
So we're trying to accommodate as many people as possible, but in general, that's where we're at. So
awesome. Well, Ryan, I appreciate your time. I apologize for being a little bit late on this. Technology can be unfriendly sometimes. But
tell me about it.
Yeah, man. So hey everyone, again, this is John at the Bumbling Yeti, episode number 30. Again, I have with me we'll say the former number one long driver in the world, but we'll easily say top 15, and you can settle that on the grid if you'd like with whoever is going to disagree with you.
I finished 5th in every competition last year. So
okay, good deal. So again, this is Ryan Reisbeck with Professional Long Drivers Association, right? It's the association, not of America. Okay. All right. So Ryan Reisbeck of Professional Long Drivers Association. You'll see their website below here, and or go to thebumblinyeti.com to find this episode and more information on Ryan and the Professional Long Drivers Association, as well as all the links and everything that get to their website and get more information. Again, if you want to go out and smash the golf ball, go try to knock the cover off of it. You never know. We've all, you'll get there at some point. But Ryan, I appreciate your time. Good luck this year. If there's anything I can do going forward, let me know. Reach out. If you're having something in this area and you want someone to come out, I'll be more than happy to come out and interview people and put it on here. My platform is your platform. So feel free. And, if Bobby wants to call in or any one of the long drivers want to do this, please feel free to send them my way. I'm 100% interested and I'd love to have conversations with, especially some of the newer guys.
Absolutely. Thank you, John. We appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Not a problem. All right, everyone. Talk to you guys later.
You bet.
You've been listening to the Bumbling Yeti podcast.
Have an idea for a future show or guest? Hit us up on our socials @The Bumbling Yeti
or email at thebumblingYeti@gmail.com.